Today, we're building an AI agent for free without any code in Google Opal. You might have seen AI agents being built in things like N8N with super fancy and complicated workflows, tons of nodes and code and APIs and all this technical stuff, which frankly makes the concept of agents for us non-developers kind of tough, right? And daunting. But Google Opal, which is the tool we're going to use today, makes it really easy because it's just natural language. You just describe what you want to build and it goes away and uses the power of LLMs to build it for you. Google Opal is also entirely free. I have no idea how Google is pulling this off, but as opposed to N8N, which is $45 a month, you just use it for free. So if you're looking to dip your toes into the water of AI agents and building your own agents, Google Opal may be worth looking at. Okay, so here at opal.withgoogle.com. By the way, this URL looks kind of fishy, but it's not. Totally legit. Opal is experimental and part of Google's kind of AI labs. So you only get access to this if you turn it on within your Google workspace admin, but you can get access to it there. It's also available for free to all Gmail users. So we'll just go over here and say create new. You can come down and look at some of these if you want to look at like, you can look at one they build with like product research, right? This is pretty interesting. So you see it as a concept of like nodes and it does things and you can look at the prompts it has within each of these nodes. That's cool. We're going to do something similar. Okay. So we go create new and we really have two options here as the canvas is pulling up. We can create each an element manually, or we can just tell it what we want to do, which is what we're going to do. So what we're going to do down here is just use our natural language to tell it what we want to build. I'm going to use Super Whisper to just talk into the microphone and it's going to transcribe it on the fly for me. Did a video about Super Whisper before. Check it out in the link in the description. An app to take a weekly newsletter and then create a featured image based on the content of the newsletter and then post it to my Ghost website as a blog post and create 2 announcement social media posts on LinkedIn. Cool, so just described what I want it to do. I'm just gonna double check this. I'll just take weekly newsletter just because that's not important. Weekly based on the content of the newsletter and then post it to my Ghost website as a blog post and create 2 social media posts. Cool, let's do it. So just using natural language, telling it exactly what I want to do. And this is because I write a newsletter every Sunday. It goes out 6 o'clock Eastern time on Sunday. It's called Founder Insights. You can subscribe, link in the description below if you want to. It's just where I share things I'm learning about being a founder, being an entrepreneur, and just being successful. Cool. Okay, so it's done, right? It's done. We're just going to double check it. So paste your content in here. Okay, so we could, and we will in a minute, try to use like a webhook or something to pull this content in automatically. That would be super cool, but we'll just pull the content from ConvertKit. I always call it ConvertKit. It's called Kit now. But ideally, if you were going to automate this, you would have some kind of a webhook or something that happens automatically each time the event happens. I'm just going to take a half a step back here because we've talked about on the channel when we define what an agent is, what an AI agent is it has 3 elements. It has access to a model, so like ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini in this case probably. It has memory, so it has some kind of way to remember things that it has done in the past. And it has access to 1 or more tools. So tools in this case might be something like ConvertKit, or my website is hosted on a platform called Ghost, or a tool could be like a search tool like Perplexity's Sonar model. Like if I write a post about something, maybe it needs to go out there and get more information. Oh, I also told it to create an image. So it would have access to the model or the tool. Maybe if I was going to not use like a model like Gemini 2.5 Flash, maybe Midjourney would be like an image tool that it would have access to. Okay, so this is just kind of laying out what happens here, right? So the first step is we enter the contents of our newsletter, and we'll do this, and then we'll try to automate it afterwards. And then it generates an image because that's what I told it. Like I want a header image in my website. And so this is the prompt. I always love looking at these prompts that AI builds for me because they're really in depth, right? And so we can see here it's using Gemini 2.5 Flash as the model. That's awesome. And you can choose other models if you want here, but we're not going to. You're an image prompt engineer skilled at translating complex textual content into vivid and detailed visual descriptions. The goal is to generate a descriptive and detailed textual prompt that captures the essence and key themes of the provided newsletter content. Cool. Okay, and then it's pulling in the contents of the newsletter. And this is the thing about agents. If you've seen any of the N8N tutorials on my channel, or maybe Nate Herc, who's kind of the Mac daddy of AI agent builds in N8N, pulling context from kind of previous nodes is the whole thing, because you're just kind of daisy chaining together events and things with the content from the previous node. And that's exactly what's happening here is we're loading in the newsletter content, and then it's using the newsletter content in this image generation prompt. So we're not generating the image here, we're only generating the prompt for the image. Then we come over here and pass to the image gen 4 model. So if you see the, I think 12 things about Google that you need to know, we covered image gen as one of the big AI image generation tools that Google has. And all we're doing is passing in the prompt that we created in this step here. Cool. Okay, so then I'm going to drag this up here just so we can see a little more clearly what's happening. So when we put the newsletter in here, we're also generating posts, and we're generating a blog, generating the blog post content, right? That looks a little better. Okay, so we can kind of see everything that's happening here, right? So the newsletter comes in, we create the prompt for the image, and then we create the image here. We also then create the blog post content. And so it's putting together the content from the newsletter and the image that was just generated in this previous step here. And it has a prompt. And so we can look at this prompt too, and it's calling Gemini 2.5 Flash as the model. You're an expert content creator skilled in transforming concise newsletter information into comprehensive and engaging blog posts. We're going to test this. This isn't exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted it to basically take the newsletter verbatim and make the newsletter the blog post. But we're going to see how this goes. And if we need to, we can come back and tweak this. But it might be that we just want to not have it redo the newsletter into a blog post, but just basically copy it, right? And so we could just pass in the newsletter content and not have it do all this other stuff. So we're passing the newsletter content and the image. Okay, cool. So the other thing we're doing kind of in parallel, right, so there's 3 parallel paths that are going here, is we're creating social media posts, right? You're a social media marketing specialist with expertise in crafting engaging and professional content. Cool. Okay, so this is going to create a list of social media posts for us. If we wanted, we could even say like, hey, make the posts like this, give a few examples of them. We'll just let this run, but you could, this is not a huge system prompt here. You could just embed directly in here, because I don't see a way to attach items to a system prompt, which is what I would really want to do. I'd want to say like, hey, here's 100 of my best posts, make them like this. But I don't see that. So you could just say, hey, here are a few examples of my posts, and just put them in line. Example 1, content, example 2, content, example 3, content. That would be the simplest way to do that here. So, okay, just to recap. So from here, we entered the newsletter. It generated the prompt for the image, generated the image, generated a blog post from the newsletter, which may not be exactly what we want. It generated 2 social media posts, which is what we said. And then it's going to present this content to us for us to post to our website. Okay. Again, like I want to have this posted directly to my Ghost website. Ghost is like WordPress or Squarespace or Webflow or whatever, but I just want it to be posted there. That just might not be possible here. So this might be just like a limitation of Google Opal at this time, and maybe where a place like N8N is actually a better tool. But this is cool. So let's give it a try. Like I'm going to go pull up a copy of my newsletter and paste it in and see what happens, okay? Okay, so back in the newsletter content field, I'm going to paste in the newsletter that I just wrote and sent to everybody. There's 3 different, a few different areas over here. So each step has a prompt and information, right? So we've been looking at that. That's in the step tab here. You also have preview, which is like Opal is building all of this as steps. And then it has like a web interface to it here. So we click start and it's going to start this node here. You can also look at the console. So you can see what's happening kind of behind the scenes, all the code that's running, all the prompts and calls that are making. And you can look at the theme and change the look and style and stuff over here. We're not going to do that right now. Cool. Okay. So we're going to hit start. and it's going to ask us for the content, and we just pasted that in. It is going over here. It's creating the image. It is also creating the blog post, and it's creating the social media post right now. And if we flip over to console, we can kind of see what's going on here. So output is, this is the prompt that it's sending to the image model. A modern entrepreneur, 30s and 40s, stands contemplatively in sophisticated minimalist office. Cool. Okay. And this is the prompt that it's sending for the, this is the result of the prompt for the social media post. Cool. Yeah, this is pretty good. Are you struggling? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Okay, that's good. This is the featured image. Not bad. Not bad, right? The whole concept is like going from bad and scared and, really uncertain to clear and growing, right? So I like this kind of A versus B or before versus after. That's cool. And creating a blog post. Entrepreneur shadow, confronting doubt and finding clarity. This past weekend, I find myself immersed in a psychological horror film smile. So yeah, this is more of like a blog post rendition of my newsletter. So this is kind of everything, right? So pretty good, I gotta say, right? Like this is the image embedded in the blog post. That's cool. And then social media post 1. I just watched Smile and it sparked a powerful parallel for us as entrepreneurs. Cool. Okay. Are you a founder or CEO grappling with complex challenges, whether it's team, marketing, strategy, hurdles? Yeah. Okay, cool. Good. Wrapping up, I would say where this is excellent. 1, we built an AI agent with no concept of code. Like you could not even know what an API is, which is awesome, and make an AI agent to do stuff, right? And that's the whole concept of an agent, right? It has access to a model, it has memory, and it has 1 or more tools. This ticks the boxes, right? This was a pretty basic example, but I just wanted to show you how straightforward it is for you to come in and get started with this. Because I think a lot of people have a preconceived notion of AI agents as like super sophisticated and untenable or unattainable unless you're a developer and really kind of techie person. But you can literally just get in here and play around with this stuff, right? And if you're like, I don't like the social media post it generated, just come in here and change it, right? You could come in here and say, read the, so if we're gonna modify this draft, just make this a better prompt, right? Say, create. Right? You could do this. You could say, use a strong hook, use a personal anecdote. I have no idea how to spell that word from my past. Step 3, create an analogy to something from pop culture, have a strong CTA, and use 3 emojis. Like if we did this, and then we just went back and did the whole thing again, it would be better, right? So let's just do that. I will post in the article again, and it's going to go do this, and we can look in console at the things that are happening. And once the social media post is generated, we'll be able to see that it did a better job, hopefully, right? So it's calling Gemini 2.5 Flash to create the post right now, 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. It's going to create these posts. And by the way, this is how I like using AI. I don't want to use AI to create the post from scratch for me. I want to create something. So it could be a YouTube video, it could be a blog post, it could be a podcast. If you're podcasting, check out Castos. It's amazing. It's my company. It could be an email newsletter, right? Start with your voice and then use AI to repurpose it smartly, right? So instead of you just having to come up with a way to promote your newsletter, just use AI, right? And it's really good at this. So 3 emojis, did it do a good job? Yep, cool. Start with a strong hook, use an anecdote. So it did a good job, right? So just a really simple way. So like, cool, I got something. I want it to be better. Like maybe next time you're like, I don't really like the image that it generated. Maybe like it needs to be different sizes, right? Come in here and say the image should be rectangular, right? So 1280 by 720. This is the size of like a YouTube thumbnail, which usually looks good like on a blog post. Cool. So, that's what we could do if we came in here. Oh, that's a really good image. I like that a lot, actually. But if we come back in here and redo it again, it's going to give us a different image because we just told it to make the image rectangular. Hopefully it listened. So we just modified the prompt to create the prompt to send to the image generation step. And let's go over here. Bam! 1280 by 720 pixel prompt, right? Cool. So, and then it's creating the image here. Calling 2.5 Flash to create an image usually takes, like if you've done this in Gemini or ChatGPT or something, usually takes a few seconds. Calling generate image from image kit from Google. So cool. So it's going to take a few seconds. Let's just make sure that this comes out rectangular and not square. It came out rectangular. It came out square. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, it didn't listen. So, we'd have to go in and debug this. This is also part of like agents. It's like, hey, didn't work right the first time. We got to go in and figure out kind of why this isn't working. Okay. But the point of this is not like the ultimate AI agent build, but to give you permission to come explore a really cool tool in Google Opal entirely for free. So opal.withgoogle.com. And so while creating all these nodes and these prompts with natural language is great, knowing how to make a really good system prompt, because that's what drives all of this, is really important. And to learn how to get way better at that, check out this video right over here.